All right, now let's take a look at the price floor. And very much like the price ceiling video, we're going to start off with just getting some economic terms in our mind, and then we're going to take a look at the diagram. Okay. Again, this diagram is much easier than the indirect tax or the per unit subsidy. Okay. So let's take a look at what is a price floor. Well, a price floor is when the government sets a minimum price above the equilibrium price, which then prevents producers from reducing the price below it. Okay, so it prevents producers from lowering the price, but the price is already above the equilibrium price. So think about our rule of 11. Boom, right? Market equilibrium price is right here. A price floor is going to be above the equilibrium price, and the price can't get down to the equilibrium price, just like a ball bouncing on the floor, right? So that is going to create a disturbance in the marketplace because it's an over intervention in the marketplace. And actually then, just like the ceiling, the price floor is going to have to then necessitate further involvement of the government in the marketplace to undo what it caused by creating the price floor in the first place, okay? So sometimes known as price floors, these are, of course, as you know, since the price is not able to go below the floor. It can't go lower, right? So minimum prices are mostly set for two reasons. Number one, to raise incomes for producers, or to protect workers by setting a minimum wage. So that's kind of interesting, right? Minimum wage is a payment, obviously, from producers to people that work there. And this price floor diagram is often used or can be used to show minimum wage. It's the same diagram showing two different things, and we'll take a look, okay? So we know, though, in the beginning of all microeconomic diagrams, we start off with the same diagram, which is, boom, the rule of 11. Let's make sure we drew it correctly. Are you ready? I am. Are you? Good. Here we go. All right. So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Quantity 6, 7. Unit 8. Time frame 9, 10. Boom. 11. Okay. Are we good? Yeah, we're good. We're good. How do we know we're good? We're good because we know that we have the 11 essential core elements of the supply and demand diagram, and it's from there that we then go, okay, what's this question asking? Oh, it's asking us to put in a price floor. Okay, so there's one event. The event is, boom, the price floor. And we know that the price floor is a intervention in the marketplace by the government by establishing a minimum price for a good, okay? So obviously it is established above the equilibrium price, which is right here at P2, okay? And just like the price ceiling diagram, you'll notice that there's an interesting spot right here, and there's also an interesting intercept right there as the price floor intercepts first with the demand curve and then with the supply curve. So let's take a look at the next diagram, and we will see how that plays out. Okay? So, with P2 established, we can then see that this intercept here of the price floor with the demand curve is going to create an output or a quantity of Q2. And where the price floor intersects with the supply curve, that is going to create an output of Q3. Okay. But where's the market actually going to operate? The market is going to operate at P2, Q2. How do we know that? Because the price floor was put in place to make sure that suppliers who could not participate in the marketplace before are now able to. So a price floor is the government looking out for the other child in the family, in its family, right? It's a 2-children family. And so the government's now going, okay, we can help out the producers over here, right? And by doing that, if it's the market for wheat, what they're ensuring is that farmers who are producing wheat will get a guaranteed price of P2 that's going to be above the market equilibrium price. Excellent. So, as a result, the market's going to operate Well, they want the government. The government wants it to operate at Q3, but where is it actually operating? Here at Q2. How do we know that? Because if in order for anything to be purchased, there have to be demanders, right? And at P2, Q2, only these demanders can actually afford the price of wheat. Because the raising of the price from P1 to P2 meant that all of these demanders right here can no longer purchase the product, which in this case is wheat. Uh-oh. So while the government wanted to take care of its suppliers by giving a minimum price, what they actually did was create a shortage of demand, or like they created a shortage in the terms of how many people would want to buy it, and as a result, there becomes something known as, wait for it, a surplus of wheat. Why would there be a surplus? Because at P2 price level, that much wheat is going to be produced, but only that much, Q2, wheat is going to be purchased. So then the government, which of course they knew this ahead of time, looks back and goes like, wait a second, we have a second problem here. We need to intervene in the market again, which they do. And actually, remember, where the government, just like for the price ceiling, wants this to operate is as far out as possible at the largest quantity, which is Q3. So at Q3, how does the government get that to operate in the marketplace? Well, there's a couple ways, but the most common way, and the only one that's viable, is that the government figure out a way to increase demand from D1 out to D2. And how are they going to do that? They're going to buy the wheat themselves. What? That's right. One of the ways, and this is super common in the world, the government just set a minimum price, right, for wheat. Why did they do that? To make sure that their wheat farmers could make it through the year. Can you imagine? The thing about a commodity is you plant it, if you're in the northern hemisphere, you plant wheat in like April or May, and then you have to wait 10 months in order to harvest it, and then you harvest it in September, October, and guess what? What if the price in September and October doesn't cover the cost of everything that you put into the harvest, to the growing season? You're in trouble. So what governments do is they set a price floor that's above market price, guaranteeing that the farmers at the end of the year when they harvest their corn or wheat or whatever the commodity might be, have enough money, okay? So the way that they do that is the governments actually do one of two things. Either A, they buy the corn, right, after it's produced here, or they get creative and they think, well, I'm a government, like I really don't actually want a bunch of corn that I then have to store, which would cost more money. So what governments actually do is they go to the farmers before they plant their field. It's very common. This happens all the time in the United States. The United States walks up to farmers. A cousin of mine owned a bunch of land out in Iowa, which it grows a lot of corn. And the government came to them and said, hey, listen, we'll give you a 10-year contract, and we'll give you a guaranteed price, a price floor, for your corn. But the thing is, we don't actually want the corn. So how about if you don't plant the corn and we pay you as if you did? Because that way it's the same, that's the same cost to the government of buying the corn, but then they don't actually have the corn. So then they don't actually have to pay, to store it. Or they don't have to destroy it, which is terrible. So actually there are an enormous amount of government programs that actually buy up wheat, corn, commodities, whatnot, that are never planted. It never existed, okay? So that's pretty cool, right? But a price floor like a price ceiling, by intervening in the marketplace to create the floor in the first place, they're actually creating the need for an additional intervention in the marketplace. And in this case, it's that the government actually becomes the consumer of the wheat, in the case of this diagram, by either buying it afterward or actually paying the farmer to not grow it, which is in essence giving them the money for something they didn't do, but ultimately for the government it works out to be more cost effective. Okay? So there you have it. Check it. That's the second price control. Yeah, a price floor really cool government intervention. And with this, you should see now that you have a really well-rounded understanding of what's at stake here. And that should really help you with your analysis and evaluation that you need to do for any assessment that's coming up. If you don't know how to draw this diagram, obviously repeat it. If you need help with the notes or further understanding, there are more notes than what I shared with you on those slides down below that are associated with this video, okay? Onward we're rolling along. Congratulations on choosing the most insightful and cool and enlightening course of study, which is economics. All right, we'll see you in the next one.